Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 13. July 5th, 1926. Jesus makes himself seen while writing what he says about his will in the depth of the soul. And then he gives a short account of it in words. I was feeling invested by and prey to the supreme light of the eternal volition, and my always lovable Jesus made himself seen standing in the depth of my soul, with a pen of light in his hand, in the act of writing on thick light that seemed to be a canvas, but was light extended within my soul. And Jesus was writing and writing in the depth of this light. How beautiful it was to see him write with indescribable mastery and speed. And then, after he had written, as though opening the doors of my interior, he called the confessor with his hand, saying to him, "Come to see what I myself write in the depth of this soul. I never write on paper or canvas, because they are subject to perishing. But I delight in writing in the depth of the light enclosed in this soul by virtue of my will. My characters of light are indelible and of infinite value. So, when I have to manifest to her the truths about my will, first I do the work of writing them in the depth of her being, and then I speak to her, giving a short account of what is written in her. This is why when she says what I have told her, she says it with few words, while when she writes, she does it at length. It is my writing that, overflowing outside of her soul, does not give a short account, but my extended truth, just as I myself wrote it in her inmost interior. I remained surprised and with an unspeakable joy in seeing my sweet Jesus writing inside of me. And I could touch with my own hand that while in speaking I am able to say little of what he tells me. Even more, it seems to me that he has only given me the topic. Then, in writing, it is his interest to help me develop it as he pleases. And Jesus all-goodness told me, "My daughter, now your marvel ceases that while you write you feel the truths arise within you as though from within a font. It is the work of your Jesus done in you, that overflowing from every part of your soul, pours order on paper, and the truths written in you, marked with characters of light. Therefore let your fears cease, and do not want to limit yourself to the short account of my words, nor resist me when I want to go into more details, and have you write on paper what I wrote in your soul with so much love. How many times you force me to use my power and to overwhelm you, so that you may not resist me in writing what I want. Therefore let me do. It shall be your Jesus' care that the truth may shine in everything." July 8th, 1926. Threats of new chastisements. How the one who must do a universal good must do and suffer more than anyone. I was fusing all of myself in the holy divine will, and my sweet Jesus made himself seen in my interior, with his arms raised, in the act of preventing divine justice from pouring over the creatures. putting me also in his same position, to have me do what he himself was doing. But creatures seem to incite divine justice to strike them. And Jesus, as though tired, lowering his arms, told me, "My daughter, what human perfidy! But it is right, it is necessary, that after so much tolerance, I free myself of so many old things that occupy creation, that being infected, bring the infection to the new things, to the new little plants. I am tired of the fact that creation, my dwelling given to man, but still mine because preserved and vivified by me continuously, is occupied by servants, by ungrateful ones, by enemies, and even by those who don't even recognize me. Therefore, I want to move on by destroying entire regions and what serves as their nourishment. The ministers of justice shall be the elements that, investing them, shall make them feel the divine power over them. I want to purify the earth in order to prepare the dwelling place for my children. You shall be always with me. My will shall always be your starting point, even in your littlest acts, because even in the littlest things, my will wants to have its divine life, its beginning and its end, nor does it tolerate that the human will may make its little appearances into its kingdom. Otherwise, you would often go out into the kingdom of your will. That would disennoble you. And this does not at all befit the one who must live in the kingdom of my will. Now, my daughter, just as the pains of the celestial queen and mine, as well as my death, like sun, made the fruits present in the kingdom of redemption mature, fecundate, and become sweet, in such a way that everyone can take them, and they are fruits that bring health to the sick, and sanctity to the healthy. In the same way, your pains, grafted with ours, and matured with the heat of the sun of my will, shall make the fruits present in the kingdom of my will mature. They shall be so many, and so sweet and delicious, that whoever wants to take them and enjoy them shall no longer adapt himself to the unripe, tasteless, and noxious fruits of the miserable and squalid kingdom of the human will. You must know that the one who must be the first to form a kingdom, to bring a good, to form a work, must suffer more than anyone, and do more than anyone. He must direct, facilitate things and means, and prepare what is needed, so that finding the raw materials of that work and seeing it done, others may imitate it. This is why much have I given you, and do give you, so that you may form the raw materials for those who must live in the kingdom of my will. Therefore be attentive and disposed to what I give you, and to do what I want from you. July 11th, 1926. Just as it was necessary to make known who they were who suffered more than anyone to form the kingdom of redemption, so it is necessary to make known she who has suffered for the kingdom of the supreme Fiat. For quite a few days, my sweet Jesus had not told me anything about his most holy will. Rather, he would make himself seem sad in the act of striking the creatures. today, as though wanting to go out of his sadness, because when he speaks about his will, it seems he puts himself in feast. Coming out from within my interior, he told me, "My daughter, I want to cheer myself up. Let me speak of the kingdom of my supreme will." And I, "My love and my life, Jesus, if you do not tell me all the secrets that are in it, not knowing everything, I shall not enjoy the fullness of the goods that this kingdom possesses. Nor shall I be able to give you the requital of love for the goods that you hide. And I would feel unhappy in the midst of so much happiness, because my I love you would not be flowing in everything that you possess in it. It may be small, but it is the I love you of your little daughter, whom you love so much." And Jesus, taking my own words, told me, "My little daughter, you yourself are saying how necessary knowledge is. If it is necessary for you, much more so for others. Now you must know that in order to form the kingdom of redemption, those who distinguished themselves the most in suffering were my mamma and I. And even though apparently she suffered none of the pains that the other creatures knew, except for my death that was known by all, and that was the fatal and harrowing blow for her maternal heart, more than any most sorrowful death. However, since she possessed the unity of the light of my will, this light brought to her pierced heart not only the 7 swords told by the Church, but all swords, spears, and pricks of all sins and pains of creatures, that martyred her maternal heart in a harrowing way. But this is nothing. This light brought her all my pains, my humiliations, my torments, my thorns, my nails, the most intimate pains of my heart. The heart of my mamma was the true sun, though one can see nothing but light. This light contains all the goods and effects that the earth receives and possesses. So one can say that the earth is enclosed in the sun. The same for the sovereign queen. One could only see her person, but the light of my supreme will enclosed in her all possible and imaginable pains. And the more intimate and unknown these pains were, the more valuable and powerful they were over the divine heart, to impetrate the longed-for Redeemer. And more than solar light, they descended into the hearts of creatures, to conquer them and bind them in the kingdom of redemption. So the Church knows so very little of the pains of the celestial sovereign queen, that one can say that she knows only the visible pains, and this is why she gives the number of the 7 swords. But if she knew that her maternal heart was the refuge, the deposit of all pains, and the light of my will brought everything to her, sparing her nothing, the Church would not speak of 7 swords, but of millions of swords. More so, since they were intimate pains, and therefore God alone knows the intensity of the sorrow. And this is why, by right, she was constituted Queen of Martyrs and of all sorrows. Creatures can give a weight, a value to exterior pains, but they do not know enough of the interior ones to be able to attribute to them the right price. Now, in order to form in my mamma first the kingdom of my will, and then that of redemption, so many pains were not necessary, because since she had no sin, the inheritance of pains was not for her. Her inheritance was the kingdom of my will. But in order to give the kingdom of redemption to creatures, she had to submit herself to so many pains. So the fruits of redemption were matured in the kingdom of my will, possessed by me and by my mamma. There's nothing beautiful, good, or useful that does not come from my will. Now, united to the sovereign queen, came my humanity. She remained hidden in me, in my sorrows, in my pains. Therefore little was known about her. But as for my humanity, it was necessary that what I did, how much I suffered, and how much I loved, be known. If nothing were known, I could not form the kingdom of redemption. The knowledge of my pains and of my love is magnet and spur, incitement and light to draw souls to taking the remedies, the goods contained in it. Knowing how much their sins and their salvation cost me is chain that binds them to me and prevents new sins. If, on the other hand, they had known nothing of my pains and of my death, not knowing how much their salvation cost me, no one would have given a thought to loving me and saving his soul. See then how necessary it is to make known how much he or she who has formed within him or herself a universal good to give it to others has done and suffered. Now, my daughter, just as it was necessary to make known to creatures who he and she were, and how much it cost them to form the kingdom of redemption, so it is necessary to make known she whom my paternal goodness has chosen first to form the kingdom of the supreme fiat within her, and then to give rise to its transmission to others. Just as it was for redemption, that was formed between me and my celestial mamma first, and then became known to creatures, so it shall be for the supreme fiat. Therefore it is necessary to make known how much this kingdom of my will costs me, that I had to sacrifice the littlest of all creatures, so that man might enter once again into the kingdom he had lost, keeping her nailed to a bed for 40 years and more, without air, without the fullness of the light of the sun that everyone enjoys. How her little heart has been the refuge of my pains and of those of creatures. How she has loved all, prayed for all, defended all. How many times she has exposed herself to the blows of divine justice to defend all of her brothers. And then her intimate pains and the very privations of me that martyred her little heart, giving her continuous death. In fact, since she has known no other life but mine, no other will but mine, all of these pains laid the foundations of the kingdom of my will, and like solar rays, matured the fruits of the supreme fiat. So it is necessary to make known how much this kingdom cost you and me, so that from its cost they may know how much I yearn for them to acquire it, and from its cost they may appreciate it, love it, and aspire to enter, to live in the kingdom of my supreme will. I wrote this to obey, but the effort has been so great that I could just barely mention my poor existence, since because of the great reluctance I feel my blood freeze in my veins. However, I can but repeat always, Fiat, Fiat, Fiat. July 14th, 1926. How Jesus kept the kingdom of his will prepared in his humanity to give it back to creatures. All divine and human interests are in danger if one does not live in the divine will. I continue my usual fusions in the holy will. Many times my sweet Jesus accompanies me in the repetition of these acts. Other times he stays there to see whether anything escapes me of all that he has done, both in creation and in redemption. And all goodness he makes it present to me, that I may place even just one little I love you, one thank you, one adoration, telling me that it is necessary to recognize to what point his will has extended the boundaries of the kingdom of his volition for love of the creature, that she may make her round in this kingdom to enjoy it, and through her love, her possession of it may become more stable. And seeing her always in it, everyone, heaven and earth, may recognize that the kingdom of his will has now delivered its heiress, who loves it and is happy to possess it. Now, while I was feeling sunken in this eternal volition, my always lovable Jesus made himself seen with his heart open, and at each heartbeat of his, a ray of light came out, at the tip of which one could see a fiat impressed. And since the beating of the heart is continuous, as one ray would come out, another would follow, and then another one. They never stopped coming out. These rays invaded heaven and earth, but all of them carried the fiat impressed on them. And not only his heart, but as he looked, rays would come out of his eyes. As he spoke, as he moved his hands and feet, rays would come out, all of them carrying the supreme fiat as glory and triumph. It was an enchantment to see Jesus, beautiful, all transfused in these rays of light that came out of his adorable person. But what gave him sumptuousness, majesty, magnificence, glory, beauty, was the fiat. Its light eclipsed me, and I would have stayed there for centuries before Jesus without saying anything to him, if he himself had not broken the silence, telling me, "My daughter, the perfect glory and the complete honor were given to my will by my humanity. It was precisely in my interior, in the center of this heart, that I formed the kingdom of the supreme will. And since man had lost it, and there was no hope that he might be able to acquire it, my humanity reacquired it through intimate and unheard of pains, giving it all the honors due to it, and the glory that the creature took away from it, so as to give it back to the creature. So, the kingdom of my will was formed inside my humanity. Therefore, everything that was formed in my humanity and came out of it carried the mark of the Fiat. Each one of my thoughts, gazes, breaths, heartbeats, each drop of my blood, everything carried the seal of the Fiat of my supreme kingdom. This gave me so much glory and embellished me so much that heaven and earth remained below and as though obscured before me, because my divine will is superior to everything and puts everything under itself as its footstool. Now, in the round of the centuries, I looked for the one to whom to entrust this kingdom, and I have been like a pregnant mother who agonizes, who suffers because she wants to deliver her baby but cannot do it. Poor mother, how much she suffers, for she cannot enjoy the fruit of her womb. More so since the existence of this birth, that is mature and does not come out, is always in danger. More than pregnant mother have I been for so many centuries. How much I have suffered. How I have agonized in seeing the interests of my glory in danger, both of creation and of redemption. More so, since I kept this kingdom as though in secret and hidden in my heart, without even the outlet of manifesting it. And this made me agonize even more, because not seeing in the creatures the true dispositions, that I might give this birth from myself, and since they had not taken all the goods contained in the kingdom of redemption, I could not venture to give them the kingdom of my will, that contains greater goods. More so, since the goods of redemption shall serve as provision, as antidote, so that on entering the kingdom of my will, they might not repeat a second fall like that of Adam. So if not all of these goods had been taken, on the contrary, they have been tampered with and trampled upon, how could this birth, my kingdom, come out from within my humanity? Therefore I contented myself with agonizing, suffering, waiting, more than a mother, so as not to expose this dear birth from myself, my kingdom, to any danger. And so, while agonizing, for I wanted to deliver of it, to give it to the creature as gift, and to secure the interest of creation and redemption that were all in danger. In fact, until man returns into the kingdom of the supreme will, our interests and his will always be in danger, because outside of our will, man is always a disorder in our creative work. He is a clashing note that takes the perfect harmony away from the sanctity of our works. I looked at the round of centuries, waiting for my little newborn in the kingdom of my will, placing around her all the goods of redemption for the safety of the kingdom of my will. And more than a suffering mother who has agonized for so long, I entrust to you this birth from myself and the destiny of this, my kingdom. And it is not only my humanity that wants to deliver of this birth that cost me so much, but the whole creation is pregnant with my will and agonizes because it wants to deliver of it for the creatures, to establish once again the kingdom of their God in the midst of creatures. Therefore creation is like a veil that hides my will, that is like a birth within it. But creatures, take the veil and reject the birth present inside of it. The kingdom of my will is the sun, but while they take the effects of the sun, which like veil conceals my will and the goods it produces, they reject my will. They do not recognize it, nor do they let themselves be dominated by it. So they take the natural goods present in the sun, but reject the goods of the soul, the kingdom of my will that reigns in the sun and wants to give itself to them. Oh, how my will agonizes in the sun, wanting to give birth from the height of its sphere in order to reign in the midst of creatures. The kingdom of my will is the sky, looking at the creatures with its eyes of light, which are the stars, to see if they want to receive it, so that it may reign in their midst. The kingdom of my will is the sea. It makes itself heard with its roaring waves, and its waters hide it like a veil. But man makes use of the sea. He takes its fish, but does not bother about my will, and causes it to agonize, like a birth constrained in the womb of the waters. So all the elements are pregnant with my will, the wind, the fire, the flower, the whole earth. They are all veils that conceal it. Now, who shall give this outlet and relief to my humanity? Who shall break these veils of so many created things that conceal it? The one who shall recognize in all things the bearers of my will, and paying the honors due to it, shall let it reign in her soul, giving it dominion and her subjection. Therefore, my daughter, be attentive. Give this contentment to your Jesus, who has agonized so much until now to release this birth of my supreme kingdom. And together with me, the whole creation, as a single act, shall break the veils and shall deposit in you the birth of my will that all things conceal. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 19, Part 13. Fiat.